Hello, today on the House of Hidalgo show with your host Rick Dehijo Binya, the case for sedition. We're going to talk about it in depth right after this. Of the House of Hidalgo show. We didn't get to do it yesterday because I was preparing all day for what ended up being a pretty messed up call last night. So we extended our time to Tuesday for this week so that we could get this show in. And today we're going to talk about sedition, the case for sedition. Fact is, sedition is something that we really need to come to grips with, understanding fully. Once we start to understand that there's the ways of the Lord and there's the ways of the world, sedition is different in both cases. While it's still functionally the same in definition, how you commit sedition against one is different than how you commit sedition against the other. Because in the heavenly realm, where you have the ways of the Lord, committing sedition against the Lord can be as simple as supporting a theory that his kingdom is lesser than that of the world. That's actually a form of sedition, to do that. Sedition can also be when relating to the kingdom of heaven. Sedition can also be just a simple a simple aggression towards the principles of Christ. Because when Christ came, he laid out a new plan, a new covenant, a new testament, which fulfilled the old. He gave it the proper makeover. Okay? And so now in this world that we live in, which is post-king, Christ is really the only true, authentic king. There are no other kings. There really can be no other capital K kings. There is but one, and that is Christ. So, getting back to the issue of sedition, if you look at sedition from the world's perspective, well, the world has a different perspective on sedition. The world recognizes a worldly system, and sedition against that system is conspiring to do something against that system which brings it down. Okay? So, there's a very careful line, a distinctive line that needs to be drawn for that reason between the public and the private. Imagine if you were operating in the public and trying to do the ways of the Lord. Everything you do could be construed as sedition against that system because you're operating in the public, but you're functioning for the kingdom of heaven. You see how the lines can get smeared there? That's why we draw a line between public and private, and that's why we have to learn to organize ourselves and to live expressively and exclusively in the private. Doesn't mean you can't have some public functions, because there are things that you'll have to do that are in the public, and those things you will have to abide by the public order in those things. Like, for instance, Social Security. If you're going to participate in Social Security, which is not a requirement, but if you're going to participate in Social Security, you're going to have to be operating in the public. So you have to operate by the public's rules, because that is the rules that are associated with Social Security. So if you're planning on trying to do something with Social Security that's outside of those rules, that could be construed as sedition, especially if you start to try to bring in some kind of a private process into that public realm. It can be construed as sedition, because now you're attempting to bring what's been made public into the private, and that collapses the public, because the public is built on fiction. The public is built on real flesh and blood, man, agreement between men. Okay, so this is a real issue, and so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna bring up some things on the screen for you right after these quick messages. We're going to bring up some things on the screen for you so that you can see for yourself how the world's defining sedition, and I'm going to show you some traps that they lay in the definition, in their definitions, in order to confuse you so that you don't recognize that there is another side, that the private exists. I'm going to show you how they make their definitions in such a way so it can only be construed as public. Right after this.
Sewing Cool Stuff and More of Yankton is your one-stop for general alterations, repairs, and custom sewing and sewing classes. Custom projects from baby blankets and memory quilts to jingle and shawl dance regalia dresses, and everything in between. Sewing Cool Stuff and More.
It's all about the blood. Yep, that's the slogan in the ministry I operate and with the products that I buy. Hi, I'm Rick Tehijio Binya, and I'm the host of the House of Hidalgo show on YouTube. If you're looking to promote your health with CBD oils, you're looking at a booking. Book greenflowerbotanicals.com for your health needs, and use the link provided in the comments section of this video, because doing so will help you cleanse your blood and promote the blood of Jesus to the world. Just join our Healthy for the Blood campaign by ordering through the link below, and a percentage of the sale will benefit my ministry. It's all about the blood.
Biscayne Bay Bridal Boutique of Yankton offers a wide selection of bridal and special occasion gowns, veils, jewelry, and accessories. We have baptism, first communion, and quinceañera attire, as well as men's and boys' suits, plus a complete line of tuxedo rentals.
All right, welcome back. What you're looking at here is the King James version of the Bible has a common dictionary that it uses for defining the words that are found in the King James version. And this is the what is it, 1611, I think, King James. And this is the definition that they have for sedition. What we're going to look at is the part that's not italicized. Right here, this much, okay? A factious commotion of the people, a tumultuous assembly of men rising in opposition to law or to administration of justice, and in disturbance of the public peace. Now think about what I just said there, disturbance of the public peace. Consider that the public is the fiction. You know, what kind of peace are we talking about here? Sedition is a rising or commotion of less extent than an insurrection, and both are less than rebellion. But some kinds of sedition in Great Britain amount to high treason. In general, sedition, and here pay attention, is a local or limited insurrection in opposition to civil authority, as mutiny to the military. Okay, so let's just focus on that for a second. Military has its own code of conduct. And if you work or operate or conspire against that code of conduct, that's called mutiny. So you get court-martialed, and they flog you, imprison you, or discharge you, whatever it is that they do. Okay, in whatever particular case we're talking about, it's its own separate law form. Now, let's look at public law. Okay, and although the constitutional government, if there was such a thing, still in existence, a constitutional government would actually have statutes written that would be a guideline for how it operates. But what we have are corporations providing government services who have statutes, which are bylaws for how they conduct in themselves in the public. And by extension, what we do is by saying we're U.S. persons or U.S. Citizens, by extension, what we do is we confess that we are, in fact, associated with their public offering, because that's what U.S. citizens are. They're not a correct expression of a citizen that was born on the land or one with a birthright, but instead one that has a corporate citizenship. So think about the way they've posed this definition. Even in the King James 1611 Bible definition, opposition to civil authority. Well, of course, if you were to take this concept and take it to the Bible, it's going to lead you to Romans chapter 13, which of course we've already debunked as to mean a different kind of governance. It's pretty obvious when you look at Romans chapter 13 that what you're actually seeing is the government that Yahuwah, Yah himself, ordained from the very beginning of time. He had 9 levels of angels, 3 tiers of angels. Each 3 tiers had 3 kinds of angels that had different motions that were set. We found this in the book of the Bee. We found the evidence in the book of Colossians that this did in fact exist and still does to this day. And now, ruling and reigning over those angelic hosts, that governance, is Christ himself, who we give all of our duty and adoration to. So we are bound to subject ourselves to that form of government because we are part of that creation. But since now we, being exalted above creation, have become heirs and sons of God, okay, brothers to Christ, okay, because he is closer than a brother. That's what the scriptures say. We have now gone to a place where we are the civil authority. And as the civil authority, read it again with the concept in mind that you are the civil authority if you are in Christ. In general, sedition is a local or limited insurrection in opposition to the civil authority. Now, if you were to take the concept of civil authority and define it in this dictionary, which I'm going to see if we can do that. I don't really see a tool for that. I don't see a place to do a search at all. I see tools here. There's an online Bible and so on and so forth, but I do not see any place for me to type in a word. So I guess I'll have to come over here and go civil authority. Excuse me, my keyboard's shaking because I don't have a lot of room on my desk when I have my microphone in my face. Civil authority, KJV dictionary. I'm using a KJV dictionary because I just want to make it let's see, office authority definition. I'll tell you what, let's just take the KJV off of there. I want to show you what the world is teaching. Okay. All right, so here, look at this. Civil authority or civilian authority, also known as civilian government, is the practical implementation of a state other than its military units that enforces law and order. It is also used to distinguish between religious authority, the canon law, and secular authority. Do you see what they did there? You see what they did there? They literally are distinguishing. Now they have taken a line and they have crossed, they've even put a line in the civil authority now that separates the religious authority from the secular authority. And in fact, secular has no authority. They have no authority because they never had authority and never been given a delegation of authority. The only authority that there is anywhere is Yah. Yahuwah is the authority. And he, through his Son, administrates a kingdom. And the ways of the Lord are expressed by his government. And his government, what does the Old Testament say? And his government shall be upon his shoulders. So here we are. These are the kind of games that they play in definition in order to try to separate the two. And while we do appreciate the fact, as a son of God, I do appreciate the fact that they recognize the difference between a religious authority and a secular authority. I do not and cannot support the idea that the civil authority has that there's any difference between the sons of God and civil authority, because there is no difference between them. So let's go back to sedition. What I want to show you is that sedition, okay, is when one creates insurrection or when one creates dissension, when one conspires to bring down the civil authority, this is called sedition. Sedition is a daily function of the press in this country. They're siding with the deep state, which translates, by the way, to the ways of the world. Their obvious support of the ways of the world, Satan's kingdom, is pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious. And it is sedition to the Lord. It is absolute treason to the Lord. And what does the Bible say it is the wages of sin? The wages of such sedition. In fact, it is death. I didn't say it. The Lord said it. Yahuwah said it. It is said by He who created all things. So sedition is a major problem. I wanted to share this with you because this is an artist rendering of something that was written by this young character. Of course, this is satire because it's it's far more true than anyone wants to really admit. But there's a reason for it, and it's not really sedition. But I want to show you something here. And it says, reward for information leading to the apprehension of, and it says Jesus Christ, wanted for sedition. He's bringing down the world system, but did he ever really operate in the public? Not really. So because he didn't operate in the public, he didn't operate in a public capacity, it really can't be sedition. You notice that even the Romans never really criminalized or got him for sedition. It was the Sadducees and the Pharisees, it was the scribes themselves who brought him claiming sedition to bring down their kingdom, which tells you what was their kingdom again? Isn't this the Savior? Isn't this the one who was promised to the Jew and the Gentile? Is this not the one who was to bring salvation to the world, yet he's actively trying to bring down your kingdom? I wonder what kingdom you must be operating under. So, just a little thought there, but it says wanted for sedition, criminal anarchy, which that's far from the truth. He was not an anarchist at all. He was providing support for his Father's kingdom, which one day will rule and reign. Vagrancy and conspiring to overthrow the established government. Established on what? Dresses poorly. Said to be a carpenter by trade. Ill-nourished. Had visionary ideas. Associates with common working people, the unemployed and bums. Interesting theory. Alien. Believed to be a Jew. Yeah, so here we go. Professional agitator. You know, today what they would call him a instead of a professional agitator, they would call him a LARP, a live action role player. Red beard, marks on hands and feet as a result of injuries inflicted by the angry mob led by respectable citizens and legal authorities. Just had to share that with you. Unfortunately, there's a lot more relevance to this and the disposition of the world and how they want to look towards us. But notice that even the world, in a moment when they had him and they could have brought him in and imprisoned him or whatever, they essentially let him go. It was the people who were bribed by the Jewry of the day that actually called for Barabbas rather than Christ. He was set to be released. Surely Caesar, in his plans, had anticipated that the people would select Christ because this man was harmless. He had done nothing wrong. He even recognized it. That very satanic-minded, reprobate, spirited Caesar, even he understood that this man was not of this world, that this man was promoting a kingdom that could not be rivaled, that even he, as Caesar, had no legal authority. Really, really important stuff. All right, guys, there's a lot more we could go into, but I don't want to get too deep. Most of this should really be talked about face to face and not in this capacity, not over this kind of media. So I just want you to think about the different situations that we encounter in life where we have that possibility of operating in some seditious way. You know, whether it's in participating in something that you know that scripturally you shouldn't participate in, or whether it's trying to administrate your life or organize your life in a fashion that's seen as correct in the ways of the Lord, but you're tempted to step over that line into the public that might start to fudge some things and make and be construed as sedition on the public side. These are all dangers that we need to be aware of. We need to be careful in everything that we do. So we need to organize ourselves in such a way that we can function on the private side and do all the things that we need to do in life without encumbrances. This is actually the entire purpose of the House of Hidalgo show, the God and Wrestling Connection 2018 season. This is all it's been about this entire year. I haven't thought about what next year is going to be about quite yet, but I'm getting close to coming up with a plan for the 2019 season to continue this. But I just want to urge you guys to maybe go back and re-listen to the ones before. Start to think about how I was showing you to organize. One of the things that I'm going to be doing here beginning this new year is I'm going to be conducting face-to-face seminars, putting together seminars that we'll be doing every so often throughout the year. And of course, there's no way that I can do it without charging something. But so I am going to charge something, but I want to make an appeal to you guys first, because you guys are the ones that know this the best, because you've been regular watchers of the House of Hidalgo show. If you're a regular watcher of the House of Hidalgo show, you've watched this show, and you decide to come to one of my events in 2019, which we're calling the Whiners to Winner series. Okay, so Whiners to Winners, which actually might be the theme of 2019. I'm not sure. We're going to get there. But if if you're watching this show and you decide to come to one of my seminars and you mention the words God and Wrestling Connection, okay? That's all you got to do is come up to me and say, Rick, I want the God and Wrestling Connection discount. All right, I'll take $5 off of your fee, your registration fee for attending the event. That's $5 off. You just come to me during the event or before the event, and you basically let me know that you want the God and Wrestling Connection discount. And I'll know that you've been watching my videos and that you get the $5 discount because you're probably going to be ahead of everybody else. So, with that said, I thank you guys for watching. I encourage everybody to be a patron. It really helps me. It helps me to help others. It helps me to organize this information and put it out because this is part of what I do every day. I do things like this and prepare my wrestling ministry by using video and different forms of media as well on that. So you're helping me to help others by becoming a patron, and you're showing your support for this ecclesiastical ministry. So check out the Patreon account, and if you decide to be a patron, of course, there are some things associated with each level of Patreon that you would benefit from. So with that said, I think we're going to go ahead and end the show. Thank you for watching the House of Hidalgo show. I'm your host, Rick Dehijo Binya, and it's always my pleasure to bring this information to you. And as I always say at the end of every show, at the House of Hidalgo show, everything we do is all about the blood.
What you made me see, think of what you